journey sparked by survival. Enter hidden worlds forged by history. Explore lands fused by culture. Touch the spirit sharpened by experience. Japan. Lightning-paced, ultra-modern, and unnervingly complex, Japan can be a cultural minefield to outsiders, not attuned to its subtle and precise etiquette. A martial artist with over 25 years of experience, Josette Normando has come to Japan to go to the core of Aikido at its birthplace. Created in the early 20th century, Aikido is a strictly defensive, empty-handed martial art. The Aikidoist can never attack because his art contains no attacking moves. Instead, the Aikidoist uses their attacker's strength and momentum against them. The harder they come, the harder they fall.
I jokingly say all the time that Aikido is the martial art of women. You don't block. So it's a very nice and elegant way, but very efficient way of practicing a martial art.
The true essence of Aikido is not just fighting skills, but Budo, a way of martial life. It is a refined martial spirit that evolved out of the savage warfare of ancient Japan. Budo encompasses not only the physical training of the warrior, but also such diverse skills as poetry, calligraphy, tea ceremony, and sword making. By mastering these more subtle arts, the savage fighter was meant to evolve into a gentleman warrior, known as the samurai.
Aikido is Budo. That is what my sensei or master has always taught me. But I never felt I fully understood his meaning. Even with years of Aikido training, being in Japan makes me feel as though I am standing on the threshold of a new world. In addition to honing my fighting skills under Aikido's top masters, I hope to grasp the subtleties of the tea ceremony, calligraphy, and sword making. By combining these goals, I hope to come closer to the true spirit of Aikido.
Josette's first destination, Hombu, Aikido's headquarters and most sacred dojo, or training hall. Before she can train under the top senseis, Josette needs to learn more about the intransigent Japanese code of etiquette. This code is taken very seriously.
In Aikido, it is said, etiquette begins and ends with every class. As I step onto the tatami, etiquette dictates that I bow to O-sensei, the founder of Aikido. Every class begins with warm-ups. Fist, loosening the joints, ankles, wrist, neck. Then, rocking on your backs to get ready to take the upcoming falls.
Out of consideration for others, students are expected to wear a clean white uniform, a gi. Black belts add a hakama, a samurai pant skirt, over their gi. An Aikidoist needs a partner to practice. Respect is essential, since the attacker gives his body to the defender so that he can practice his technique. Students alternatively assume both roles, uke and nage, attacker and defender. Josette is with Guillermo Crispo, an Argentinian Aikidoist whom she met in Montreal. Guillermo started his martial arts training at the age of 5 and is traveling to dojos all over the world. He will be Josette's training partner here in Japan. Josette and Guillermo start training with weapons in preparation for their meeting with strict Aikido master Saito Sensei. They're hoping to be accepted as live-in students, and they want to be ready for the highly disciplined dojo and the sensei's extreme military-style weapons training. O-sensei created Aikido as an empty-handed method of defending against sword attacks. Training with weapons helps the Aikidoist develop a keen sense of timing.
Yeah.
The boken, a wooden sword, reproduces the weight and shape of the katana, the traditional Japanese sword.
Although technically katana training is not part of Aikido, there is nothing like the whistling sharpness of the real thing to keep you on your toes.
Descended from a family of craftsmen that goes back 10 generations, Yoshindo Yoshihara is one of Japan's last traditional sword makers. In ancient times, the art of sword making was considered Budo.
Yes, thank you. Hakama, like Aikido. Sensei, I have been told many times that the katana is the extension of my ki, my inner self. This is a chance for me to see how a master craftsman can give a soul to sheets of steel.
Until the samurai class was abolished, the sword was the fundamental symbol of the Japanese warrior class. For the samurai, the sword was his weapon and his soul. This pageant at Nikko Edomura features the story of the blind swordsman saving enslaved women from their captors. From the 12th to the 19th centuries, the samurai were the exalted professional soldiers in the private armies of Japan's rival warlords, or shoguns. By the end of the 19th century, Japan had been united under the Emperor Meiji, and the samurai class was almost extinct, but the spirit of Budo lived on. Out of Tokyo, Josette and Guillermo are on their way to the Aiki Ibaraki dojo to ask Saito Sensei to accept them as in-house students. If accepted, they will undergo training that will tax them to their limits.
Okay, so I guess we have to go this way.
At the age of 7, Hitohiro Saito Sensei started to learn Aikido under O-sensei, his father's master. Following the death of O-sensei in 1969, the founder's family left the Aiki shrine and dojo in the care of Saito Sensei Sr. in gratitude for his devotion. After Saito Sensei Sr. recently passed away, Saito Jr. took over the dojo, where he continues to preserve the founder's spiritual and technical traditions.
If we are accepted as uchideshi or living students, we'll be in for some serious training.
Yes, we have to register.
Before we can proceed, the head uchideshi gives us a taste of how things work here. Students must strictly serve and obey the sensei at all times. I took a chance by coming here without a letter of introduction. I should have known better. Now the question is, will we get into this dojo, or is our journey over before it has truly begun?
Josette's journey through Japan has just begun, and already she has lost face in front of her first Aikido master, Saito Sensei. Now he may not accept her as an ushideshi or live-in student at his dojo.
I didn't have a letter of introduction, but I decided to come anyway. My own sensei once waited for 3 weeks on the step of Hambu before being allowed by O-sensei as a uchideshi. I hope that won't happen to us here. After keeping us waiting for a while without an answer, apparently Saito Sensei has finally made up his mind. We sealed the deal with red ink. In the past, it would have been blood.
It's her first day, and by 6 a.m., Josette has already done an hour of chores. Now, she heads over to the first of many daily training sessions with Saito Sensei.
At the Aiki Ibaraki Dojo, the training day begins with boken classes. Training with a boken helps me to see how Aikido's white moves are designed to avoid the thrust and slices of this weapon. Also, I can better grasp the logic of complex wrist techniques aimed at disarming a sword-wielding opponent. In Aikido, you don't block, because against a sword-wielding opponent, you would lose your hand.
As soon as the practice session is finished, the grounds have to be groomed. The students pick off dead leaves and rake each stone back into place to keep the front of the shrine arranged like a Zen garden.
Here, there is even a precise, formal way to rake.
After breakfast and more chores, it is time for zhou classes. A zhou is simply a stick that is used to improve timing, focus, and muscle memory, skills that are crucial in Aikido.
Saito Sensei has no patience for mistakes. In my decades of martial arts training, I've had many demanding senseis, but never one as rigid as him. You're only meant to listen and then obey.
見せます。31がもっと短くなります。ですか？ほら見るだけで。えい！あ！えい！あ！えい！あ！えい！あ！えい！あ！えい！あ！えい！あ！え
The head Uchideshi tells Guillermo and I that we have to give a donation or tamaguchi. So minutes before next training, we run to the nearest store to purchase the specific tamaguchi envelopes. It's part of the dojo etiquette. Returning to the dojo, the head Uchideshi tells me I used the wrong kind of calligraphy on the envelopes. Then she suddenly adds that we also need to present Saito Sensei with 2 bottles of sake. Off we go again. Back at the store, we choose 2 elegant-looking bottles that seems to be of fine quality, then we hurry back. But we are wrong again. The head Uchideshi is furious. Apparently the bottles are the wrong size. Even with the best of intentions, we have created nothing but irritation and disappointment. Life at the Aiki Ibaraki dojo is Spartan, and the schedule changes arbitrarily. There is only one constant: practice, and with it, relentless correction. After several grueling classes where it seems I could do nothing right, I feel really discouraged, and I can only wonder if this frustrating experience is part of the Buddha way of learning. Out of the blue, Saito Sensei invites me to the waterfall where O-Sensei went every day when visiting Iwama. In light of his usual cold and distant behavior, the sensei's offer is quite a surprise.
Wearing his family crest, Saito Sensei preps himself before performing a purification ritual to cleanse his body and mind. In ancient times, monks and warriors used to perform such religious purifications.
Once Saito Sensei is gone, Guillermo urges me to try the purification ceremony, but the spiritual side of the ritual makes me ill at ease, and I am afraid of making another face-losing mistake.
On your back, on your back.
I force myself to stand there as long as I can, but all I feel are the sharp rocks underfoot and the bone-chilling coldness of the water. What am I missing? I feel I am farther than ever from grasping the true essence of Buddha. One thing is clear to me: Buddha cannot be obtained in a day.
Josette is at the Tokyo Narita airport waiting for the famous New York master Yamada Sensei, who has agreed to introduce her to the leader of the Aikido world. Through him, she is hoping to discover where modern Aikido is headed. Yoshimitsu Yamada, an 8th degree or Dan black belt in Aikido and chief instructor at the New York Aikikai, was an Ushideshi under O-Sensei for more than 10 years. He was selected by the founder's son to leave Japan to spread Aikido throughout North America. Today, Yamada Sensei is the chairman of the United States Aikido Federation and teaches seminars all over the world.
He must be arriving here.
One plane has already arrived from New York, but there is no sign of Yamada Sensei, and Josette is feeling anxious.
Let's make sure he's not out yet. I have been talking to Yamada Sensei for over 2 years about joining me on this journey. If we've missed his arrival, we are in a lot of trouble.
Il arrive à 4h10, Terminal 2. Il a pris Japan Airlines flight number 5. Let's go. Merci. Bye.
After a series of phone calls, Josette finally gets a flight confirmation. Yamada Sensei's plane is due to land right away at another terminal.
Comment ça va?
What a relief. In Aikido, keeping a sensei waiting is unforgivable. After 2 years of preparation, he could have literally just walked away. Although I have known Yamada Sensei for almost 30 years, I know there is a line that can be crossed. He is the master, I am the student, even more so here in Japan.
Yamada Sensei has been invited to give a seminar at one of Tokyo's many Budokans, or martial arts sports centers. According to etiquette, his hosts line up outside to greet him. Yamada Sensei typically begins his warm-up sessions with breathing exercises. There are no Aikido tournaments to challenge one's skills, so Aikidoists attend large seminars where they have a chance to practice with new partners.
As Yamada Sensei comes over, I feel a little tense. I don't want to disappoint him in front of his host. I tell myself, relax your shoulders, Josette. Don't use your strength, use your ki.
どっちかというと簡単って言えば簡単なんですよね。でも誰かこう掴んでる場合はね、まずここからこう一緒になって導くから僕はこう言ってしますね。
Every sensei has his own favorite moves, sequences, and training games. The unpredictable nature of seminars forces students to question and revise their techniques, not to mention improve their physical endurance. The seminars usually last a full weekend. Fun but exhausting. There are a lot of people at a seminar and no room for ego. You have to protect your uke by constantly being aware of your surroundings as you throw him to the mat.
In Aikido, the two training partners fuse their ki, or energy, when doing a technique. The attacker's energy is transferred to the defender, who channels it back again. The combatants are two sides of the same coin, and not just two coins smashing against each other. Yamada Sensei has arranged a privileged audience for Josette with Doshu, the grandson of Aikido's founder. Moriteru Ueshiba, the grandson of O-sensei, has been the general director of the Aikido World Headquarters at Hombu since 1986, when he took over from his father. At his father's passing in 1999, he was granted the hereditary title of Doshu, or leader, and became permanent chairman of the International Aikido Federation. Now in his 50s, Doshu works to preserve the founder's heritage, his teachings, and the spirit of Aikido.
This is the chance of a lifetime. I hope I know enough to ask the right questions.
Hello. 失礼します。
Josette is at the Aikido headquarters in Tokyo, Japan. Her guide, Yamada Sensei, has arranged a rare interview with Doshu, the leader of the Aikido world.
I have a lot of questions for Doshu about Aikido's heritage and how it was passed down to him from his grandfather.
Thank you so much. 私からもプレゼントがあります。いろいろ合気道の本ですので、どうぞ参考までに。英語でできてますから。まだいないですね。
When I ask Doshu about O-sensei, he shows me several pictures of his grandfather.
This is my bed. This is Tamura Sensei bed.
Morihei Ueshiba's quest for the true spirit of the martial arts led him to create Aikido. He used his experience, knowledge, and vision to develop a unique art based on ki energy. Later respectfully given the name of O-sensei, or great teacher by his students, Aikido's founder saw his martial art as far more than just a fighting system. For O-sensei, the Aikidoist should aspire to be a gentleman warrior in the samurai tradition.
Doshu believes in spreading Aikido worldwide, but is concerned that the tradition, quality, and essence of Aikido might get lost in the process. I feel uncertain of attaining the Budo spirit myself and wonder if some of its essence has already been lost in the translation.
The next morning, Josette and Guillermo take Doshu's early class. They are amazed to see that many of the vigorous Aikidoists present are well into their 80s.
Training in a sea of black belts at Humbo with the leader of the Aikido world is intimidating, to say the least. The energy on the tatami is high. Okay, relax, take a deep breath, and here we go. As I bow to the person in front of me, I realize he's one of Doshu's uchideshi or live-in students. He'll be my partner for the class. Yes! My training partner corrects me through subtle hints. He offers enough resistance to make me work hard, but without fighting me. In other words, he's a great uke. Doshu says that the energy radiated by a spinning top is the perfect example of stillness within movement.
Doshu has granted Josette the honor of accompanying him to a tea ceremony. So Josette is shopping for white socks, one part of the required etiquette.
Konnichiwa.
Hoshinji Temple, home of renowned tea master Kobori Sensei.
The gestures are precise, the act elegant and refined, and there is a great deal of pressure not to make a mistake. Not only for me, but for both masters as well. This is the first time that Doshu has faced his tea master since becoming head of the Aikido world. their teacher-student relationship no longer stands.
In ancient times, the samurai saw the tea ceremony as an important step to attaining Budo. The attention to detail is a part of a way of life that seeks excellence in even the most ordinary tasks. The concept of tea-drinking rituals began with Zen monks in Japan in the 13th century. Tea kept the monks alert through long meditations. In the 16th century, there grew up a new approach to tea called wabi, meaning simplicity and absence of ornament.
Besides wearing white socks, I had to bring a small purse containing a knife and several sheets of paper to receive the small almond cake and pick up its crumbs. The kit also includes a small fan to draw up symbolic boundaries between host and guest.
The samurai made the tea ceremony a spiritual discipline and an essential part of Budo. To this day, the ceremony has 4 precepts: peace, respect, purity, and tranquility. Yamada Sensei, Josette, and Guillermo leave Tokyo to pursue their pilgrimage to the Kumano Mountains, considered Japan's Holy Land, an area steeped in sacred meaning for the samurai and for O-sensei. Along the way, they hope to visit one of O-sensei's original disciples, the 10th Dan Hikitsushi Sensei, but they had been told he may be too ill to see them. Nevertheless, Josette is hoping that this pilgrimage to Aikido's spiritual roots will bring her closer to the true meaning of Budo. After an 8-hour stretch, Josette, Yamada Sensei, and Guillermo finally reach one of the most visited shrines in Japan, the Grand Shrine of Ise. This is their first stop on the way to the Kumano Mountains.
This is my second attempt at a Japanese ritual purification. After my intense experience with Saito Sensei, it's reassuring to have Yamada Sensei to help me through the ritual.
Since ancient times, pilgrims have purified body and mind by washing their hands and rinsing their mouth with the waters of the sacred Isuzu River.
Yamada Sensei explains that the Ise shrine is systematically disassembled and rebuilt every 20 years on 2 alternative sites. This ensures that the carpentry skills will continue to be passed down through the generations.
Okay. So, the car is coming. Oh, here it is.
Josette is offered a Daruma doll by Yamada Sensei. The Daruma is based on the legend of an Indian Buddhist monk known in China as Bodhidharma and in Japan as Daruma, who lost the use of his arms and legs after 9 years of sitting in meditation. The doll has a weighted bottom and rounded shape and automatically regains its balance after being tipped over, representing persistence of spirit and recovery from misfortune. A symbol of good luck and protection in Japan, the Daruma doll is traditionally given at the start of a new venture.
To make a wish come true, Yamada Sensei tells me to paint its left eye black. At the end of my pilgrimage, if I am granted my wish, I should paint the second eye.
Josette and Yamada Sensei are on their way to Shingu to meet Hikitsushi Sensei, the old master of the Aiki Kumano Dojo, opened in 1952.
For summer, maybe one of the, maybe fall kimono.
Yeah. What up you?
On our way from Ise to Shingu, we stop to find out if Hikitsushi Sensei is well enough to see us. The venerable sensei has been bedridden for the last year.
As they arrive at the Aiki Kumano Dojo, Josette and Yamada Sensei have little hope left of meeting with Hikitsushi Sensei. So they are amazed to learn that he is well enough to welcome them to his dojo.
Today, Sensei. Like back home in Canada, bringing cut flowers when visiting an ill person is considered proper etiquette. I can't believe my luck. After all, I'm getting to meet one of the last of the original Aikido masters. Hikitsushi Sensei tells us that O-Sensei's spiritual devotion to nature led him to open the Aikido dojo here in the Kumano Mountains.
Michio Hikitsushi was born near Shingu in 1923 and met O-Sensei at the age of 14. Although at the time only adults were permitted to train in Aikido, O-Sensei saw Hikitsushi's commitment and told him, "You were born to discover the spirit of Budo, so you must study Aikido." Hikitsushi Sensei received his 10th Dan in 1969. He is one of only 2 students granted such a high rank by O-Sensei.
As we go through the photos and books, Hikitsushi Sensei expresses what Aikido means to him. The prevailing message is one of peace and love. The students are stunned. Hikitsushi Sensei has not set foot in the dojo in more than 2 years, and here he is teaching.
初めからこうついてきた時が座れる分試合をしちゃいけない。相手の手元にほらこっちからもうそうすれば始まる。ほらこれ起きてるね。自分では疲れるからもう相手を見ないように絶対にしなきゃいけない。
This is called freestyle, and it's usually done with multiple attackers. It's like a real combat situation. You have to be fluid, stay focused, and be inventive.
Yeah, your ankle.
Just step.
Yeah.
Spending time in the Kumano Mountains gives me the opportunity to reflect on why I am here and what am I trying to grasp. I can understand why O-Sensei and the samurai came here. The solitude of the mountains allows time and space to reflect on one's life and death. Falls, where samurai once performed their purification rituals. This place has an eerie feel, and the trees seem to float in the mountain mist. I can see why these rituals have long been forbidden here.
The Nachi Falls have always been considered to be the embodiment of a god. In past centuries, pilgrims and samurai worshipped the falls. The samurai were feudal warriors who controlled the Japanese government from the 12th to the 19th centuries, according to Bushido, an unwritten code of conduct requiring truth, bravery, loyalty, and honor.
Aichi Falls, we stop at the feet of the Kumano Mountains in Tanabe, O-sensei's birthplace and final resting place. Tanabe is the last stop of our pilgrimage.
Gomita Sensei asks Yamada Sensei if he would grant her and her students the honor of teaching the class. The sensei agrees gracefully.
My time in Japan is almost over. My quest to determine the essence of Budo is still uncertain. Will I get any closer to my goal during the final days of my journey?
Josette's pilgrimage in Japan is about to end. She is here on the grounds of the Kozanji Temple with Guillermo and Yamada Sensei to pay respects to a man who truly defined the martial art of Budo, so central to Aikido. O-sensei.
As an Aikidoist, I feel like one of the founder's grandchildren. By coming to the temple grounds, we are observing an ancient Japanese tradition, visiting an ancestor tomb, part of the Japanese sense of duty towards the dead. It is a fitting place for O-sensei, a man who believed deeply in peace and harmony.
For O-sensei, Aikido was a non-competitive martial art, an answer to the violence he saw all around him.
This is a tape of O-sensei. The first time I saw this, I was a young Aikidoist. I never forgot this old man throwing down a series of opponents like it was nothing, hardly even moving. Some 30 years later, the sight still inspires me.
The atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki had a tremendous impact on Aikido's founder. O-sensei felt that harmony and non-aggression were the only answers to violence. In the martial art he created, there are no attacks and no aggression, making Aikido, in essence, the martial art of love.
Living this experience wouldn't have been possible without Yamada Sensei's goodwill. How can I show him my appreciation and respect? I try to think of a meaningful gift, something that will show him the effort I've made to grasp Budo. Calligraphy came to mind. Along with sword making, tea ceremony, and flower arrangement, calligraphy is one of the skills samurai studied to obtain Budo. Despite my complete lack of training, I tried to draw the 3 kanji or Japanese characters that makes the word Aikido as a gift to Yamada Sensei. I thought I was going to have a nice little practice with Guillermo today, but suddenly, Yamada Sensei starts calling the attacks just like during an Aikido exam. This is quite stressful. I tell myself not to think or I'll stop reacting naturally to the attack. Every time he calls an attack, we have to switch techniques and we're not allowed to do the same technique twice. The sensei wants to see that we have mastered the different combination and that our movements are fluid.
I'm starting to learn a little about Japan from your teaching.
When the session finally ends, it's time to offer my gift to Yamada Sensei. I hope my humble present pleases him.
To understand their Japanese
thank you very
culture.
much. And I also hope you enjoy Japan and learn something out of this journey. Thank you very much.
Aftermath of great destruction and suffering, Aikido was born out of a need for peace and harmony. Doshu, Aikido's heir. Hikitsushi, the original disciple. Saito, the disciplinarian. And Yamada, the ambassador. These senseis preserve the essence of Aikido and the legacy of O-sensei. All of them help Aikidoists reach a state where body and mind are combined in the spirit of Budo.
I have been very privileged to have Yamada Sensei to introduce me to the other senseis and give me the opportunity to better understand O-sensei's vision of Aikido. It has sometimes been difficult to penetrate the opaque culture and etiquette of Japan. The reality is, I am not Japanese and will never be. Therefore, I need to find the path to Budo in my own way, through my own culture, much as these masters have found the true spirit of Aikido through theirs. My goal as a martial artist is to transcend the daily dimensions of life to gain what the masters gain, a touch of invincibility.